Oh, jeez. wpcentral podcast 147 for, I don't know, Wednesday, the 21st of 2012. Or is it the 22nd?
22nd.
That was probably the worst introduction ever. As you can tell, a little out of practice this week. Everybody, Danny Rubino here, joined with Raphael and Jay. Raphael, we managed to dig him up out of Arizona as he's preparing to be shipped off to Washington.
Yes, they peeled me off the road. It's about like 150 outside right now. So
it's okay hearing that the heat wave is pretty bad across the country. It's actually not too bad, surprisingly, in the Northeast. I'm not complaining too much. It's like the low mid 80s, so I'm okay with that.
What's interesting, Daniel, is that you had to clarify that with I'm not complaining too much because the usual level of complaining.
I hate the summer, so the summer could disappear. So I don't care. But anyways, how you doing, Jay?
I'm all right, thank you, buddy. Busy week at work, but when's that not true? How about yourself?
You know, hanging in there. Very slow day today. There's just not much news going on. It is August, and August is like the Sundays of the summer and the months. Just everybody's on vacation. Everything slows down. I'm actually kind of okay with that. I actually got to play a little bit of the new Xbox Live game that came out today, Shoot One Up, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. But still, it's been slow, punctuated by bursts of huge breaking information. And so that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about because there has been quite a bit of big news coming out over the last 2 weeks since we last had the podcast. And so we'll get into that. Specifically last night at 12:01, what an odd time for Bloomberg to run this story. They basically said that Verizon will be getting a Nokia Lumia Windows Phone 8 device. In a way, this isn't news because I think we've been anticipating Verizon coming back to Windows Phone for quite some time now. They were rumored back in the early part of the year to be getting a Nokia device. I believe it was called a Sword. And then later they backed out. They probably at that point learned that Windows Phone 8 was coming out and this phone won't get that. So they're like, probably got cold feet, which I don't think we can necessarily blame them for. And they also threw a little tantrum about not having LTE. Of course, then once they got LTE, they still didn't want the phone, which is kind of unfortunate. But now it sounds like a fly on the microphone, by the way. I don't know.
Oh, is that me?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to put your pet fly back in the cage.
But anyway, so now Bloomberg is coming out saying, yes, they're going to be getting a phone. It won't be till later this year, whatever that means specifically. They won't evidently be at the September 5th announcement, so we'll just have to presumably wait. So I guess the next big question is exactly what device is this? You know, is this going to be a mid-range Nokia? Is this going to be high-range? Now, Nokia early on said that they're going to start offering specific devices to carriers, so this probably won't be whatever AT&T is getting. And if I know Verizon, they're going to want to do their own thing again, so it's probably going to be a red Nokia device of some sort. But I don't know. It's pretty big. I know some people here don't care for Verizon. Totally fine. Almost irrelevant because there are a lot of Verizon users. And the fact is Windows Phone needs Verizon on board. They are the second largest carrier, maybe even the first. I don't know. But, you know, it's a pretty big deal to finally get them back. And now the other question, of course, is are they going to get any other devices? I don't know. What do you guys think of this news?
So I'm going to let Raphael have something to say because obviously it doesn't really affect me. All I can tell you is that Verizon is the red network.
That's true. We actually call them Big Red here, but yeah.
Yeah, so I'm primarily AT&T. It's good to see them come on board, especially to replace a network that's bowing out, Sprint. Right. I have no idea what devices they're getting, though. It'll be interesting to see what apps they bring over. I know they have like their own little entertainment little offering or network. We'll see.
So it's a CDMA technology, isn't it, that they use Verizon? Am I right?
It's CDMA, but they do have an LTE network, as everybody gave up on WiMAX. Verizon never had it, only Sprint did, but LTE was presumably a GSM type 4G, but Verizon embraced that. And in fact, they actually have a pretty large LTE, footprint here in the United States. So this will be, of course, an LTE device. That's pretty good news, I think, for a lot of people. And yeah, Raphael brought this other little story that kind of, melds into this one, which is now Sprint got rid of the Arrive finally. We reported this, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, that it was going to be an EOL, meaning end of life. And sure enough, if you go to Sprint today, no mention of Windows Phone on their site. What's worse, there doesn't seem to be any plans for them to get a Windows Phone 8 device, at least anytime soon. They will join the party. It's just they're going to be late to it. And there's fashionably late, and then there's irritatingly late, and I think they're being the latter here. I wouldn't expect a device from them until after the new year, and I think that's being a little bit cautious even. But I don't think I would expect anything.
Do you expect a device from them at all? Because the way that I've seen the story just from looking over this side, I mean, the Arrive was, that was reported as being the most, was it the best feed level of customer satisfaction of any of the phones that they were offering. I absolutely, it was called the HTC 7 Pro over here, but I loved that device. It was actually one of the most unique Windows phones, and it even came out, if we recall, it was. Technically, it's a newer device than the Trophy was on Verizon, because, of course, the 7 Pro or Arrive as it was didn't come out for a few months for either of the markets. So I'm a little bit curious as to why they've pulled it. Is it just because they don't want to deal with people saying, "Oh, why haven't I got Windows Phone 8?" Or
Dan Hesse, whether you like him or not, has been quoted as saying it was one of their most returned devices as well.
Oh, really?
I'm not. I guess we have to take his word for it. He's a CEO of Sprint. I'm not. I don't see those numbers. And part of me finds that a little bit difficult to believe. But if he says it, that's typically kind of what we have to go by.
And I can see it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the classic thing that we're seeing with Windows Phone. It doesn't sell high, but the people who do buy it and keep it really are happy with it.
Well, we should say that again. That's of the kind of people who are in our audience, because half the problem is, as it's been well documented, people will return the phone when they realise, oh, actually, this number of apps that all my friends have got, I can't get hold of. It does unfortunately happen, and I'm not saying that everyone will do it, but I'd say that's probably one of the main reasons that the phones get returned.
Yeah,
it's not identical to their friends.
I do think Sprint will come around to this. They have said, they've talked about it positively, saying what Microsoft's done with Windows Phone 8, it looks good. They're moving in the right direction. We're enthusiastic about it. But having said that, I still wouldn't anticipate them. They're going to looks like a wait-and-see approach, which is weird only because T-Mobile will be on board, Verizon will be on board, and AT&T will be on board. I can't see how Sprint thinks this is a winning strategy, waiting till it gets popular before you come in. It's like, I don't know. It just seems like
they can't afford to gamble. They lost out big time with Palm. You've got to remember that. They put a lot of money behind how Palm's going to work, and then they suddenly changed their mind to iPhone. So they've tried the gamble before, and it didn't pay off for them, because suddenly I think it was the Droid, wasn't it, that took over and basically kind of blew the alternative iPhone out the water.
Yeah, well, Verizon actually screwed everybody over, because then Verizon was supposed to take the Palm Pre on. They ordered a bunch of them, and then they canceled it and went with the Droid instead, which really screwed Palm big time. But yeah, Sprint did get burned by Palm, and I can understand them being cautious. They also spent a lot of money getting the iPhone over, which really hasn't, it helped them to stop the bleeding, but it really hasn't made them, obviously, the number one carrier. Their 4G plans are pretty weak now. When I was back with Sprint years ago, they were the best deal in town, both in terms of the cost as well as the speed of their network. But now with AT&T and Verizon, that's just not the case anymore. And so,
let me jump in there real quick. So the speed might not be the case anymore, but the cost is still the cheapest carrier around, I think. I was price shopping with Jen, and they have the cheapest network, and maybe Android is their bread and butter right now, because it's probably the cheapest to roll out. Maybe I don't know, licensing costs. The OS is free.
They could also customize and put all their crappy software on, their music store.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It's true. I mean, that's kind of their big thing. They can't do that with iPhone, but iPhone sells itself, so they don't need to. I think it's a weird strategy for them. Comparing them to Palm, in a way, I understand, but at the same time, Microsoft is not Palm, right? I mean, Microsoft isn't going to go anywhere. I don't care how well Windows Phone doesn't do; it's not going to go anywhere. Microsoft is in this for the long haul, and they're just stubborn with a lot of money. You're not going to win, against them in the long haul. So I think
they will get it. They will get it sorted one way or another. There's too much money to be made and to be spent.
It's just unfortunate for Sprint customers at this point, because I've been one since 2000, and I'm either going to ditch them because I haven't arrived, but I don't use it anymore, or I'm just going to put my account on hold, because you can freeze them for a couple months and wait and see. But I don't see much reason to stick with them anymore between T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. I know a lot of people hate on AT&T. I honestly don't have a problem with them. They are expensive, but besides that, I don't have any issues with their service, believe it or not. So,
yeah,
but
yeah.
And to tie us all back together now, of course, was the big announcement that Microsoft and Nokia are having a dual announcement September 5th in New York here. That's kind of interesting only because everybody was expecting this to happen in Nokia World in Finland. That looks to have been downgraded now. I don't think anyone's going to Finland outside of carriers and OEM partners for accessories and this kind of thing. So that looks to be closed. This looks like they're just going to have a big announcement in New York. My understanding for that is probably just cost. Nokia's hurting a little bit.
Definitely.
And anyone who saw Nokia World last year knows just how much that event must have cost them. I mean, it was just huge. So they probably went, we could probably do without that. Just have a press conference like every other OEM out there. So now the question is, what are they going to reveal? And so I think at this point, it's safe to say if Verizon's not going to be there, it's just going to be an AT&T announcement, and maybe T-Mobile will be announced on the side. That's probably what I'm leaning towards. I think it would be weird to have AT&T, Verizon on the same stage, we're each getting a Nokia phone. I can't see that happening, only because those companies hate each other, or they're at each other's throats. I mean, they're really big competitors, right?
Will they really necessarily bring either of them? Maybe they're just going to say, "Hey, it's going to be available on this many networks." Do they need? Do you need to have a network there?
I think AT&T is going to have now, because it's going to be like what happened when they announced it back at CES with the Lumia 900. It's going to be, I believe, AT&T on stage, ELOP, and Ballmer. I think they're going to do another one of those. Be like, we had a great time with the 900. Here's the next big device that's coming. I really believe that's what it's going to be. To have Verizon then come on stage and be like, hey, we also got something, which may or may not be as good. I don't think those companies are going to want that sort of. It's funny, as for capitalist societies we are, companies don't actually want to compete, not on stage, against each other. And the only way they can do it is by having unique devices that they can kind of angle. They don't want to actually sell it on their network because, no one wins there. So that's the dynamic that's happening in this country. We all want them to be dumb pipes and just all have the same phones. They all want to have unique phones and don't look at their network, So I think that's what's going to happen, though.
It's surprising that, because we don't really have that situation over here in the UK. I mean, a few phones or a few carriers get unique phones, but more often than not, sort of third party shops get the exclusives on the phones. And our carriers kind of are dumb pipes. When you buy into a carrier, you're buying into either the coverage, which for the most part is the same as pockets and areas where usually far away from the cities where you'll get one carrier that's doing better than the others, but for the most part they actually compete on price, which is where I sometimes wonder if you guys even really get that over there, because our guys are constantly undercutting each other in price. Things are getting cheaper, or what they're providing gets better. For example, Three over here started offering all you can eat data, which is their definition of unlimited, and that was their big selling point. And that's the thing, they sort of got into it and said, let's actually not try and compete over just the devices and the phones, because everybody's going to realize that some of these phones are pretty similar, and let's actually compete over the quality of either our service or how cheap we can offer it for. So it surprises me that there's an awful lot tied to the getting devices out and getting exclusives on devices out there. I mean, we only had the iPhone on an O2 exclusive for 6 months.
But Nokia even said that this was a winning strategy for them, that it worked very well with the Lumia 900 being exclusive to AT&T.
Well, so Dan, let's be honest. They're not going to turn around and say, no, that strategy didn't win for us and the Lumia 900. We could have done with having a bigger reach.
That wasn't the article. That wasn't the article. The article was saying that they're going to take that model and extend it to the rest of their networks and their partners. That they're going to, and if you know anything more about this industry, RIM does this big time. RIM has excellent carrier relations and do offer very specific devices to carriers based on that, and the carriers love it. So it actually is a winning strategy. I mean, and HTC does this too with Sprint. Sprint has their own 1X. It's called the Evo whatever, LTE, that's out now. But it's just basically a customized 1X. So this isn't just Nokia saying, oh no, it worked for us and we're happy. You're going to start to see, they basically said what you're describing in Europe failed. It didn't work. The Lumia 800 failed to catch on for the carriers because they all sold the same phone and couldn't really be like, hey, we have this unique phone, come to our network, when you could just go down the street and get it on any other. So the carriers actually
there's no incentive to push these devices if everyone has them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it becomes down to the phone stores and down to then the manufacturers to do the advertising. I mean, some of them will push it. The phone, they'll say, "We've got this phone on this deal." So Orange will say, "Here's the Lumia 800, and you can get it with our music service with this much downloads per month and cheaper than everyone else." And that's the strategy that they take out. But it means that consumers get the choice. And if you want to get your phone out there into sort of the conscious of Europe, I say Europe, I can only really talk for the UK. Then you've got to have the displays in the general stores, or you can go to each carrier and say, "Can you display this on your stores?" But it just means there's not really. It's not down to the networks. It's because we have a lot of third-party, very successful phone shops that actually offer their own deals and just sign you up to the contract for a network with the network.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I bet you'll see more differentiation hardware even come to Europe with the new Nokia Lumia line. I think you're really going to see that because they didn't have as much success with the 800, despite the very heavy advertising that they did give it. And so I think it's going to be an important strategy change for them this time around.
Yeah. I have to say that, in fact, I took a picture, which I'm just going to briefly show. I don't know if this will work, but this made me very sad. I was in my local electronics exchange thing, and I don't know how well this will show, but that is 5 black Lumia 800s all sat on a second-hand store, ranging from 185 to 235 pounds, unlocked, all of which obviously have been returned, and that's just in sort of the Shepherd's Bush area. So I can sort of see what people mean about returns coming in being a big deal.
Yeah,
just to bring us full circle.
Okay, moving on.
Let's get some happy news.
Well, Nokia teases the PureView camera, so almost kind of getting back into this, which is what they're going to announce, is this notion of PureView. Now, we've heard rumors, but not confirmed, that any kind of PureView Windows Phone won't be shown at this announcement, partly because it's just not ready yet. But now Nokia sort of teased themselves with this on Twitter the other day when someone was asking, hey, could you put this technology into the PureView, the PureView rather into the Lumia line? And they said, check back in a couple of weeks. One could take that many ways, but it seems to be saying that, hey, something's going to be announced soon regarding that. Now, that could either mean the September 5th thing, or I should have pointed out, it could be also that September 7th date with the Helsinki, Finland store closing down. And, we don't really know what Nokia has, going with them. They have a lot of potential announcements they could be making here, so who knows?
I really don't know, because we keep hearing that they're probably not going to do it. The Lumia, or sort of the PureView Lumia phone, will come later. But anyone who listened to the podcast a few weeks back, I was lauding and complaining about the fact that they weren't. What if they don't do it? Because frankly, we want to see a Windows Phone 8 device with PureView. We want to see the disruptive technology. We've been over this bit already, because it would give them a really strong showing when it comes to trying to differentiate their device. They can be like, bam, look at this awesome Windows Phone 8 device, and look at the PureView. And actually, interestingly, going back to the leak that we had from April, the start button on that supposed PureView device that was, I think it was taken from a slide that was being shown at an internal corporate event, theoretically. It does have the Windows Phone 8 style start button. So there is reason to believe that device may actually, may be real. We may be looking at a PureView Apollo handset, and it's kind of funky looking. I think I'd probably get it.
Yeah, I was actually kind of intrigued by it too. I mean, it's really hard to say for such a slide if that device, is real. But I mean, it's Nokia, right? They always kind of push the design boundaries. I'd be very excited to see if this happens. I don't want to dwell on it too much, because honestly, there really isn't that much solid information coming out right now about this. Maybe we'll have more in the next couple of days, but as of right now, it's kind of hard to say. We can only just hope. I do bring up in the article whether or not that means a 41 megapixel sensor on a PureView, and I don't think it necessarily means that, because PureView is more than just a giant, large sensor that could do a lot. It's also the software behind it, including the oversampling technology. You could presumably have a 20 megapixel camera that can also do the same thing, scale down. You can still take 5 megapixel photos, but are heavily oversampled to give you better sharpness, less noise, all that kind of stuff. And that too would be a huge benefit to consumers. And I think most of us would be happy to have a Lumia 900 type thin device, but still, even a 16 megapixel camera that has that quality to it.
And a proper flash as well. Let's not forget the proper flash. It's very important.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the xenon flashes are pretty, coveted.
LEDs suck, apart from being torches. Give it that.
Although I will say the Lumia 900, we'll talk about that in a second, that the latest update, the flash actually works pretty well with it now.
Yeah, go on. Let's talk about it now, because I'm guessing that, Raphael, you finally got your update, I believe, a week after it was supposed to be.
I don't know how long it was, but my phone kept bothering me, and I'm like, okay, I got to stop this. So I plugged it into the PC, and update after update after update. I'm like, holy crap.
You were
3.
I was before 81.13 or something.
81.12, and then the last firmware update.
Okay,
so I installed. That sounds for
3
updates. Raphael, you were quite behind, and in other completely obviously unrelated news, I think Daniel fired you this week, didn't he? From
well, actually, in fairness, the update that we're talking about was 3 updates. It's 2 OSs. It's 87.73 plus 87.79 plus the firmware. So it's actually the firmware that is the important part. The Tango stuff is actually not that big of a deal. Some real subtle changes there. It's the firmware that is the real important stuff. It keeps the backlit keys on now all the time, which, once again, really subtle, but I like having the keys lit up as opposed to them turning off after 3 seconds. But the real big change, of course, was the camera. The camera quality, much I'll admit I was wrong in this. I didn't think the camera could be improved that much, but Nokia proved me wrong, and I'm glad they did, because I'm actually using my Lumia 900 all the time now. But the camera...
For the record, that update, I don't know if you've checked it, but the firmware update for the Lumia 800 also fixed its camera.
Yeah, and it's weird too, because when you look at it live, like say in a dark setting, it still looks noisy and terrible. When it actually snaps the picture, it actually looks a lot better. And so I always recommend indoors, drop down the ISO to 100 or 200, and if you just hold the camera steady or lean it against something and tap the screen to take the photo, you can take some really amazing photos now with this. We held a contest. One was random, and then the second one we highlighted some really beautiful shots. But, it really did make a big difference. Nokia could still do much better, but I'm really happy with what they've done. And so it goes to show that they're learning as they're going along here. I've mentioned this before. Nokia is new to Windows Phone. They're learning. They're getting the engineers in place and practicing. It's an unfortunate position to be in, but that's the fact. And so with every update, they're taking their time and they're fixing things. So they're at least getting it done. So... Raphael, have you noticed anything else with the update so far?
Raphael?
Did we lose
Sorry,
Raphael?
I had it muted because I'm trying to eliminate the noise. But so I updated and I was playing around with the camera. I don't see any difference at all, to be honest. I don't know if it's psychological, but I see nothing. Then again, I don't use my phone for taking pictures. So the turning around the mute thing, I'm kind of on the fence about that, because I don't know about you, but I go to my room and I lay down and I throw my phone onto the floor. Now, depending on what side it lands
onto the floor?
Is it that you come home from high school and you throw your backpack on the ground and you...
Yeah. No, I get that. But you throw your phone onto the floor?
Yeah, well, it's got carpet.
Okay, well, of course. I wasn't expecting you to have like a concrete floor and just outright smash the thing every time. I'm throwing it on the floor. Why? Because I can reassemble it. That's why.
Yeah. So I just throw it on the floor, and then I get a phone call. But if it lands on its face, I won't hear that phone call.
No, that's not true.
Really?
You haven't used it long enough. Okay, so this is how it works. If a call comes in and it's on its back, you just lift it. Oh, I don't want to take the call. Put it on its face. Yeah, now it's on its face. If a second call comes in, it will ring, and then you have to lift it up and put it back down again.
Does it work for alarm, by the way? Because I haven't tried it. It used to work. The N97 used to do that for alarm as well.
I'm
you could turn over
the
phone
alarm
to snooze the alarm.
I didn't try the alarm. I don't. It's not advertised as that, but so I can't tell you. But
okay,
I'll just try it now.
Yeah, I only know this because I had like some random number call me the other day, and I was like, yeah. and then they called back and it rang. I was like, oh wait, okay, so it does do that. So it's not the end of the world. It does work based on the purpose
So that was my bad. And then I did notice the backlight stuff you were talking about. That's very handy because when you're using the phone in the dark, and then the lights, and then the button lights go off, and it's like, uh-oh.
I'm just saying, when it's like 2 a.m., you're in your car, you're coming home from the bar, and you're doing your text messaging, you want those backlights on, right?
Yes, definitely.
You don't want to, make any mistakes because that could be dangerous.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, of course. As opposed to the usual safe driving.
Mistake in the text while you're driving.
Do you know what? For legal reasons, we should probably say we don't advise using a phone whilst driving.
I hope no one is listening to us for legal reasons. Yeah.
I've just checked, by the way, it doesn't work turning over the phone to mute the alarm. We should point out as well that HTC have had that tech in their Windows phones since pretty much day one, haven't they? Attentive phone, they called it.
HTC, yeah, right. Well, I think it came out. Yeah, it actually was there ever since Windows Phone came out. It goes back to the Windows Mobile 6.5 days. It had an add-on to that, right? Yeah, so that was an HTC thing. Very cool. Glad to see it over at Nokia. In fact, I heard this is actually going to be integrated into Windows Phone as a whole. So we'll see when Windows Phone 8 comes out. But that's the deal. Let's try to maybe move off of Nokia because we've got a lot of Nokia news going on.
Yeah, sorry people who don't like us talking about Nokia. I just said Nokia. Oh, I'm going to hang my head in shame for a minute. Carry on.
Fired.
I guess we can talk about how bad HTC is doing, although now I really feel bad about that story too. I mean, this is kind of, I'll be honest, one of those people, I like HTC. I mean, I don't love their stuff, but, I like the Titan too. I think the Radar is an amazing phone. They do pretty good stuff with the Windows Phone. We can argue about they could do more for advertising than that, but I'm actually kind of shocked that the One X series is failing for them. The One X phones, if you've seen them, are actually really nice.
Gorgeous.
The Android, they're white. They're they're actually pretty nice phones. They have a great camera, really fast camera too on it. And they released it at a time where there's technically no competition. No iPhone 5 and the Galaxy S3 hadn't come out yet. So they actually had a nice window where presumably they could have dominated for quite some time. And it's just not selling well at all, apparently. And it's just kind of surprising. Now they're reworking their strategy. Apparently they're going to make less premium headsets. They're abandoning the Beats thing, which, okay, that's probably...
Of course they are. It's completely pointless.
It is completely pointless. I'm glad they did
Sorry,
that.
You beat me. Sorry, I apologize to Dr. Dre, but your headphones are just a waste of money.
And it was also caused me now to answer less questions like, when's Windows Phone going to get Beats Audio? Okay. The Beats Audio thing's going to go away. And now apparently HTC were trying to enter into the premium phone market, trying to sell sort of high-end phones, somewhere where Nokia and Apple actually have been traditionally done well. And now it looks like they got to scale back down again. I'm not sure what that's going to mean for Windows Phone users. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say. They're not doing well. And as much as you might not like HTC, fair enough, but I would rather have them being healthy and doing well than not, because more competition, the better. But what's happening is they're getting whipped by Samsung and actually Apple. Samsung is actually doing very well with the Galaxy S3, and HTC is having a real tough time competing. And it's just, I find it surprising. I just didn't think HTC would be doing this poorly this late in the game.
Well, let's talk about some of the reasons why they're doing not very well. I mean, they've had a pretty solid advertising campaign. They were sort of the Android darling, but for whatever reason, Samsung have been slowly and surely taking away their market share. I just said they had a good marketing campaign. What was the HTC One X marketing campaign over in the US?
It was.
Here it was some stupid skydiver, and it didn't work at all.
Yeah, I think it was that here too. I can't tell. I don't watch TV or commercials. But,
I've never seen it.
But financially, they spent some of the most money they've ever done on marketing. So it actually was a significant chunk of their budget for what that's worth.
But the problem is that, actually, I'll tell you what it is. It's that Samsung pulled off with Android what Nokia pulled off with Windows Phone. You know how we say that Lumia has become almost more recognizable now than Windows Phone has. It's exactly the same situation with Android. People recognize Galaxy. They recognize the Galaxy brand, possibly in some cases more than they understand Android. They'll say, oh, it's running Android, but they'll go out and say, oh, I want a Galaxy phone. And they'll see, oh, Galaxy Tab, there's Galaxy S2, there's Galaxy S3. That brand has really worked for
Despite the fact Samsung is actually slowly diluting and killing that brand name.
Oh,
it's true.
I completely agree with you. And actually, HTC were doing better when everyone said, "Oh, have you seen the Desire?" And it's all about the Desire brand name. Yeah. And I think actually part of it is because the One X departs away, and people don't follow phones day in day out. Some people aren't like us, and so they just won't see that different branding, and they'll say, "Oh, okay, it's a new phone called the One. I've never heard of it. Oh, the Galaxy, I know that one. I'll buy that one." And of course, the iPhone just carries on using it.
It's also hard to compare, right? If you keep changing the name to these random things, it's like I don't know what that is. Is that better than the Galaxy? I don't know.
Yeah, and people did the same thing with BlackBerry. It was always Bold, or it was just I got the new BlackBerry Bold, or I don't know what the other ones were called. I'll be honest, I don't follow BlackBerry.
The Pearl.
A lot of analysts are actually saying that Samsung's big coup here was the Olympics, that they sponsored it and they were really able to shove the Galaxy, basically down by the throats.
They've had a temporary store.
Had the Galaxy thing right on it.
Yeah, it's been ridiculous. They've had a temporary Samsung store in Westfield near me for about 3 months, just in the centre. And you just walk by and you see the Samsung reps just playing with the Samsung phones, and people are queuing around the corner to look at this phone. It's like you could walk down the road to see it, but yeah, they've really killed it when it comes to that. They've got their Note brand out there, they've got the Galaxy brand out there, and they're now actually separating them, as we've seen with the new Galaxy Note tablets. And they're trying to sort of make a clear distinction that Note is their tablet and Galaxy is their phone, and it is working for them, So provided they don't get spanked in court, then it's Samsung are onto a winner at the moment. I don't actually see them doing too much with Windows Phone 8. I'm not entirely sure what we'll see.
The fact that Windows Phone won't save HTC either. Not yet, at least. Maybe Windows Phone 8 a year from now, if it really starts to explode, which hopefully it should. But I think that's going to be Nokia's game. If there's going to be any explosion, I think Nokia will be on the end of it, receiving a lot of it. HTC will have to kind of ride that wave and may be able to help them. But I just don't see that much creativity coming out of HTC, and they really do need a game changer. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with them. The other, I guess, big news moving on here would be that this weird story that came out about Windows Phone bypassing RIM by the end of the year for a market share.
That was...
It was a really kind of a silly story, only because we're sort of going like this, and RIM is just nosediving. So yeah, at some point those lines cross. I'm not sure that's an endorsement for Windows Phone. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's not. We're growing at a very, very small rate, and it needs to really explode. This says more about RIM and the dire situation they're in than it does about the positive, news about Windows Phone. You don't want to win by everybody else losing around you. That's not something to cheer about. So that's kind of a screwy story that we just had to respond to because the rest of the media was kind of harping on it. It was just kind of a bad analysis. But.
Yeah, I think just not a move on. I think it's more interesting to talk about this, the images of the screen bezel that leaked out.
Yeah, so this is kind of a fun story. This company, ALPS, they are a subcontractor for Nokia and actually Samsung, I believe, too. They were leaking like a sieve, I actually use that expression, because there at least looks like 2 bezels that leaked out for Nokia phones. But they also, we didn't cover it, but there was a Samsung Note 2, supposedly, bezel that leaked. And the ruler is matched up. So there's some guy like in this factory who's just like, hey, snap, puts them on the internet. We love that stuff, obviously. It makes big stories. Everybody gets excited. Oh my God, look what's coming. And then, but that's really bad for the company who did contacted us, and they kind of asked us to take down those images. And they eventually asked us to take down the story, which we refused. I mean, can't do that. But I was like, threw them a bone. Because I actually feel bad. I mean, they got to have these contracts with these companies. But yeah, so the story is that these bezels leaked out. There's 2 of them. One is 4.3 inches. It's rounded. And then the other one is, we don't know the size of it, but it looks to be like 4 inches, maybe a little bit larger. And it looked to fit that Phi design. It may even be that 4.6 inch design. Who knows? Not too much to go off of on these. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
I think one of them might belong to that PureView concept phone.
Really? That thing was like totally angular and curved.
Maybe
You mean that yellow one?
Holding that hope.
Yeah. Which there's 2 yellow ones. There's the one that looks like a banana.
Banana.
That one's like totally got an angular curved screen though. That one's different.
But it has to be real, because then I can actually have ring banana phone as my actual ringtone. Can you imagine?
Yep.
You could answer the phone like a chimp.
It designs like that. It's funny. A lot of people are kind of mixed on it, but it's designs like that actually make Nokia stand out from the crowd.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
we'll see. I don't want to dwell too much on that image just because we don't know. But yeah, so those bezels, just the only thing that you can really take away from that too is that those are about to enter mass production. That factory makes the digitizer that goes between the screen. Sometimes it's built into the screen, so that when you touch it, the capacitiveness, that's what that company focuses on. And so what evidently is those parts are being finalized, and you can imagine this is probably going to go to, mass production soon, which gets to this other story about whether or not we're going to see Windows Phone 8 devices in October or when. I hope sooner than later, but let's not get everybody's hopes up too much. So.
Yeah, we won't speculate there because we'll get people's hopes up, as you say.
Yeah. I guess we should move on to apps, even though there aren't too many apps that have come out. It's been, like I said, slow August. This isn't like last summer where we had a slew of official apps coming out. It's been very quiet the last 2 weeks. So I guess we can talk about, let's talk about the Xbox Live games. We had 2 of them. Was it Little Acorns and Shoot One Up? Little Acorns, totally forgettable. Beautiful graphics. I love the look of it, but I'm just completely bored. Did you guys even try it?
No.
I haven't tried it yet.
I was going to say by the silence, I was going to guess you guys didn't try it.
I was looking for that other app, and I couldn't find it.
Which one? Shoot One Up?
The Shoot One Up, I couldn't find it in the marketplace on my phone.
Why don't you use our app?
You know what, Raphael? Okay, some of us sit here at our
in.
computers and we develop these awesome apps so that you can just swipe right and hit download app, and it's even available in the free version. And if you haven't got the
I love the people. My favorite though is in comments will be like, I can't find a link in the marketplace in comments, even though we gave them the QR code and the link in the story.
That's totally me. A QR code it's so out of your way. You have to load an app that scans the screen. And,
yeah, I know. Tap. Hard.
I've just noticed that.
As opposed to writing out Shoot One Up. Right.
We need like a back-end API that says send to phone, and then it either sends an SMS or I don't know. It
exists.
Notification.
It's called the web marketplace.
Okay.
Speaking of which, that Shoot One Up game, by the way, its tile. I've just noticed the banner is different.
Yeah, we talked about that in the story.
Did we? I see this thing. I haven't read the story today. It's only just come out, but I've just noticed that.
It's a mixed story. The tile is only changed in the marketplace for that one image. The actual tile on your phone is the same Xbox Live one. What that means, I don't know. Are they really changing it over for Windows Phone 8? Maybe, maybe not. It could also just be a screw up because the fact is it doesn't match the one that's on your phone. So if you download the game, it's not going to look like that. It'll match the rest of your tiles. So take that as you will. The game is actually really good. The graphics are nice. It's easy gameplay. You put it on easy, but I did put it on easy, and I beat the game in literally 20 minutes, which I thought was a little weird. So I was like, credits? I was like, really? But now, I mean, there are different ways you can go in the game. There's an interesting part on each level where the screen splits in half, and then it asks you if you want to go straight or the screen it'll rotate your ship, and now you start going sideways. And one is like, that's the harder one. So it gives you like these sort of like choose your own adventure type choices. And it's kind of interesting. Interesting game though, because instead of gaining more lives, every time you pick up an extra ship, it just adds the ship on the screen. So you control like a little fleet of ships, which is kind of a nice little.
I gotta try that because this Acorn game is terrible.
Yeah, it's really boring. I mean, I just don't like the graphics look wonderful on it. It's really boring.
Yeah, I love the squirrel with his glasses and costumes and stuff, but it just feels like a Lode Runner ripoff with no strategy whatsoever.
Yeah, Lode Runner on the other hand, I love.
Yeah, I love Lode Runner too.
Okay, so question for you both then: Shoot One Up and Little Acorns, are they worth the price tag? Especially seeing as you've just said Shoot One Up, what lasted you 20 minutes? Is that worth?
Well, that was on easy. Well, the thing with Shoot One Up, I'm exploring it. There's like that's the super easy level. There's like 4 other levels you can do. There's also other ships you can attain, and I'm not really sure. I think there's different things, so it can potentially explore. Yeah, if it's not more than that, is it worth it $2.99? It's kind of hard to say. I enjoyed the game tremendously. I could see the replay value, being relatively high. I think I still like Dodo Pachi Maximum better. But it's not a bad game. Little Acorn, just skip. There's no need there.
Unless maybe you have like a 2-year-old that needs some entertainment.
We should probably talk about Sally's Spa as well, because obviously the highly anticipated sequel to the best Windows Phone game ever created.
I found this clone that some I think Asian company made. It's actually really good.
Okay, well, tell us that one, because I'm not very impressed with the Spa.
Oh, I haven't tried Spa yet. Don't let me down there. But
they've made a couple of design mistakes. But what's this? Sorry, I was about to say the Chinese.
It's called Bonnie's Brunch.
Bonnie's
Brunch. So you're in like a meal van, and you have to like prepare sandwiches for all the different people coming by. So you start. It's not just sandwiches, breakfast as well, and milk and coffee, and it gets really tedious, just like Sally's Salon. It's great.
I love that.
Sally's Salon does not get tedious.
It's obviously a clone, kind of a rip-off, but hey, look.
We've got to be careful here, because time management games exist all over the place. There's a really popular cake one on iPhone that I've forgotten what it's called.
Okay. Yeah.
They are all over the place.
It's good.
Okay. Bonnie's Brunch.
I haven't tried Sally's Spa yet, so I have no opinions on it. I see my girlfriend playing it all the time, and I'm like, really? She's like, I hate this game. And she's like going crazy on it. So I don't get these games. Apparently, everybody doesn't like them, and they hate it. It's tedious, and yet you can't not stop doing it, which really tells me there's some weird thing with people's brains being hooked into.
we need more. We need more of these time management apps.
Okay.
Yeah, I have curiosity. Dan, is your girlfriend playing Spa or Salon? Spa, really? Because I'm disappointed with Spa.
She got like every achievement in Salon.
Good God. you have to drag the screen around. It's really not. It's because it doesn't just fit everything on one screen, and the graphics don't look as good.
Right.
It's not as good. Okay. And also, the trial is just the tutorial.
Okay, let's talk about some other apps quickly. Market to Me got a nice update. If people wondering what Market to Me is, every time I cover like Nokia stock or anybody's stock, and you see that nice little stock app, I'm always using it on my photos. It's the app Market to Me. I should just stamp it, because people keep asking every single post. Market to Me. There's two versions of the app. There's a free version, which I highly recommend. There's no ads. It has tons of features. And now there's a Market to Me Plus, which is the paid version. It has even more features. That's really for people who are like heavily into stocks and trading and stuff. But Market to Me, I think, is one of the nicest looking apps out there. Like I said, it's free with no ads and just looks really good. If you just want to track Nokia, HTC, Microsoft, Samsung, Apple stock, you can just pin them to your start screen and it gets updated. Really cool. Great developer too, so it's nice to see that come into the marketplace. Memento, George reviewed. I really like this app. It's I think it's 99 cents in the marketplace right now. There's a free trial. It's not so much that the app is fantastic. There's just so much potential for this app. But the filters are really good. I think some of the nicest filters I've seen yet for these apps. I say that even as a big Thumba user. So if you're into photos, give this one a try. I'm looking forward to some improvements to it. But it's a really nice, beautiful designed app. So if you like doing photo stuff and posting to Facebook or whatever, definitely check it out. Do you guys have? Oh, did you guys try the pinball game, Dr. Pickaxe?
I did. Yep.
Great game.
It's super responsive. It surprises me. The only weird thing is I don't understand the theme. I don't know if there's like some nostalgic pinball theme going on there. I don't know, but it was. And by the way, if the author's listening, it was very hard to find in the marketplace, because I saw the icon like 100 times and I thought it was a fake. Yeah. And then I gave up and installed it. And I'm like, oh, this is the game. Oops.
I think
if you'd used the WP Central app, you wouldn't have had that problem.
When are you going to send me the paid version?
Oh, it's like that. Just get the trial version. It's the functionality's in there as well. It's free and it's free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm still waiting for Pinball Effects 2 to come to Windows Phone. But for people wondering, I wouldn't expect that till December at the earliest. We interviewed the developers at Zen Studios, I think it is. We have a great interview with them, but it's in the process of being developed. But when you hear in the process of being developed, then you got to factor in that 3 months of it going through the marketplace and being certified, all that. I think it's a little ways out. So
is that going to be an Xbox Live title?
Yes, that's the Xbox
Okay.
Live. Yeah, you get. Oh, you don't play Pinball Effects 2 on Xbox?
No.
Oh,
The
okay.
Well,
only thing I
Windows
play on Xbox right
Go-
now is Braid and Super Meat Boy.
Okay, so just hop onto Xbox 360, download Pinball Effects 2. Technically, it's free, but then the tables you buy individually if you want them. And
that's-
it's one of the best pinball things I've ever played in my life. I'm like a total addict, and I
Is it as
challenge
good as
anyone to try
Worms
to beat me
Pinball?
on it because I'm awesome. But I beat. Put it this way, I beat Paul's on every single table. Paul, Sega Con, our game superhero. Very proud of that fact. So
Is it as good as
Anyway.
Worms Pinball was? If you ever played Worms Pinball,
I haven't played Worms Pinball. Sorry, it's better
You
than
need
that.
to
Trust me,
play
it's really good. Yeah. Anyways, you guys have any apps you want to talk about that happened? It's been kind of slow, so there hasn't been too many big things, but I've probably missed a few. I know like some Nokia apps got updated, but whatever.
yeah, some things got updated. I'm just looking through my app list on my phone and realizing that I don't think I have downloaded anything in particular.
Yeah, I tried that
Bit of a
photo
hassle.
room.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I didn't understand it. It seems to have some sort of social network behind it that I've never heard of.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Photo Room is a really interesting app. So we do have that in the notes here. That got a nice big update with 2.0. It actually is a really nice update. My only problem with Photo Room is it is confusing when you first launch it. I'm like you. I'm not really sure what this is. It's like a social network thing. Because you see, the first thing you see are a bunch of, I guess, icons of people who just registered.
I was going to say jailbait, but yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say what ends up turning out is a bunch of like girls all seductively posing. Which I'm okay
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm just trying to figure out what that. Yeah, it's a little weird. But as a photo editor, it has a ton of tools in it, and it's actually really nice because it's
the tools are awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, they should I think make the photo editor front and center, and then make the social stuff a little bit more behind, right? But that's me. But a lot of people. And I say that I'm probably raising the ire for our audience because I know it has a dedicated, loyal following. That's cool. I'm not trying to. If you're happy with it, fine. But it got a big update. And it's actually a really nice update. So if you haven't tried Photo Room yet, spell it at FH because it's unique. Make sure you go try it in the marketplace because it's, it ain't half that.
all right. I've got nothing to talk about apps wise this week, which is quite bad because I've just been developing, as you well know. So.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Let's hop to the rest. Windows Phone Xbox Live achievement syncing issue comes to a close. This was an issue that not many people knew about, but you may have experienced it. Basically, well, actually, Raphael, you kind of were part of the story too a little bit. Worked with Paul on it, so maybe you want to explain it.
I don't know all the details, but basically, your Xbox Live titles, for example, Assassin's Creed. Little Acorns, Asphalt 5, etc. So you would get these achievements for doing various things in these games, but then they wouldn't register on the back end. So sometimes they would disappear from your profile or not show up at all, and people were starting like, "Oh, what the heck's going on?" And they'll go back and replay it again, and it's still not sticking. So finally, we got with Microsoft. We're like, "Hey, look. Come on, what's going on here? You got to give us something." And we actually got a quote from them saying they did find an issue on the Xbox Live achievement side, and they fixed it. They're going to go back and get it all synchronized, so you don't have to go replay those games for hours and hours. But now, have you heard if it's been fully rolled out yet, or?
I assume it has been. I can't 100% verify that, but we haven't seen any more complaints coming in for it. So,
anyone listening, if you still have issues, give us a holler.
Right. Microsoft's been having a couple of issues lately with the marketplace. It's gotten better, I think, over the last few days. They fixed an issue with the certificates in WhatsApp, New York Times not being updated. That was a little controversy, but overall it wasn't too bad. At least it came out and publicly stated what's going on. Some things they're pretty good about as being forthcoming on. Others they're not, like the Metro name, which we're not even going to touch this week because that's a whole ridiculous topic. But overall, the marketplace seems to be a little bit better now, so it seems to have stabilized. Considering how much they changed, though, I got to give a little credit to Microsoft. They didn't break too much, it appears.
Yeah.
So it's actually a pretty good deal.
And for those wondering out there, they did finally enable encrypted Zaps.
Zaps,
So,
right.
Yes.
All the apps now are encrypted.
Yep.
You can't pull them down and pirate them, etc.
Which is fantastic news.
Yeah, I think it's it's about time. It's one of those things we've been wanting for a while. We reported, I believe it was back in October, that this feature was coming. That they were just waiting to flip the switch, whatever that.
Yeah,
meant.
we thought it was going to be around Mango release, didn't we originally?
Right, and it kind of was. It was the Mango release. The problem was they wanted to wait till everybody was on Mango, because the first announcement came that you have to be now on Mango or you can't use the marketplace, and that was the first door shutting as you're getting ready to do this. And once they got everybody up on Mango and told them you got to be on and continue using the marketplace, that's when they can enable the encryption. And then they tied it in basically with the App Hub / Dev Center remake, makeover. Yeah. That's when it was all integrated. So the first step was getting everybody onto Mango. So they had to launch Mango, then they had to wait a certain amount of months before it could roll out and give enough time.
Reach critical mass.
Right. And then they shut the door on that, said, okay, if you're not on Mango, no more marketplace for you. And once they did that, now everything can be encrypted. So it looks like they had the game plan all along. It was just a matter of timing stuff. So, done that. XD developers misreporting all of this today, saying that the issue to WhatsApp and New York Times was because of the Zap encryption, which is not necessarily true. It's actually because of the certificate issue. I don't see it as, that may be technically related, but anyways, the problem's fixed, so it's beside the point anyway. So everything should be okay now with the marketplace. Quick thing on developers, if you are a developer in our audience, I encourage you to go to the AdDuplex blog, where I did a brief interview there with Alan, asking us about what we do as, for our app reviews and game reviews, how we handle them, what we look for, and what's the best way to contact us and try to persuade us to actually take a look at your app. My first word of advice is make sure you have a really good app or game. That's the number one thing. But we do get some tips about, if you send us a Zap file, it helps, and, images and marketplace links and all that. So go check it out. I think it's a decent interview. It'll help you as a developer to, better market your app and get it out there. So you could only benefit from it. And also we had a huge interview with Nokia last week regarding them being the Wear platform. Nokia's been talking about this for a long time. One of our writers, Robert Brand, spoke with them and regarding about their future geolocation plans with Windows and Maps and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of interesting tidbits in there. I don't know if you guys got to read that, but it's going to be kind of interesting, this geolocation stuff, how big it's going to be in the future. They do talk about, I think, it was good about how they have like 5 different apps for mapping and all this location stuff. Everybody's wondering why that is. Their argument was, well, because they can more rapidly develop these branches of functions, see what works and what doesn't, what people are using. But obviously the goal is then to eventually integrate that all into one system. So I think with Windows Phone 8 coming out, you'll see this. But right now it allows their teams to be more flexible and dynamic to bring these features right away instead of building a giant package with 9,000 options to it, which is a big, monster. So it actually kind of makes sense, even though we all want Maps to integrate with Drive, which we want to integrate with Bing. I think that will be coming eventually. So,
absolutely right. Should we move on to community section?
I believe so.
Wait, I want to squeeze one thing in there, though.
Go
for it.
Everybody should go check out Unity 3D as well. That game development tool. They've just now announced support for Windows Phone 8 and Windows 8. So if you're thinking about creating games and kind of gave up because X and A disappeared, go Jay. But yeah, check out Unity 3D. I'm actually gonna start learning this too. I'm interested in that. So they just announced that today, I believe. So
now if we just get the Unreal Engine over, right?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that should happen. Right, let's go to comments from last week. First comment from Mab664 was quite simply the words live UI with regards to something that could be used to replace Metro.
We just moved away from the live thing.
Yeah, so that was my thought as well. But it's an option.
Yeah, I never heard that.
Modern.
That's interesting.
I don't like modern UI. Modern UI is a rubbish name. But
they're not going to go with that.
Yeah, they need to. They need to do something different. I think they're just testing ideas at the moment. I'm hoping. DBLD_indie says, what? No J at build? That's un-American. Do you hear that, Dan? That's un-American, not bringing me to build. And for the record, this guy, Indie, is my new favorite guy. So,
yeah. Okay.
So
don't complain to me. Complain to Microsoft. They have the press passes.
I know. I feel like Raphael could probably get me one as well. So I'll complain to Raphael. As well.
When I stayed up for the registration of Build, and I almost didn't get in with my code. It was crazy. So yeah,
it's sold out in an hour.
Well, we can sneak you in if you show up. That's easy.
I'm sure we could. Yeah.
I see. You say that you can sneak me in. I don't feel like it's worth spending sort of however many £100 on a transatlantic flight for a chance of being snuck in like a ninja.
Now you won't get any devices that they give away, if any.
I don't want a free device. I just want to be there and be like, hey.
You don't want a Surface?
I want one, but I'm going to buy one anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm going to buy one too.
So there's no, and actually, I say that I won't necessarily buy one if because some of the OEMs have got some pretty fighting talk now. So if they come out with a better device, which I still don't think is going to happen, but I'm getting quite excited about what the OEMs are going to bring out. So we'll soon see.
Any questions?
Huh?
We got off track there. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Torch XT is just saying they call it modern UI. We'll leave that one. Kal-El said, "Hey guys, great podcast. Just wanted to put my 2 cents in on the multitasking on Windows Phone. You said we weren't sure why you couldn't just tap the tile and go into the app. We were talking about why we thought that should be resuming an app if you had an app instance open because it makes it easier for users. This guy says, my thought is that it's because of the hardware back button. Let me explain. If I was to go into our app and maybe in settings exit the app, do some other things, then jump back to the WP Central app through pressing the tile, the back button would not take me to back to the main news page, but to the previous app I was in, and nowhere to get me into the main page without restarting the app. His basic point is that because of the way the linear navigation model works in Windows Phone, he doesn't think that it would work because the back button would then get a little bit confusing. It's a fair point, and I think it's something that Microsoft could actually easily code around. You just jump into the local stack of the app, and when you hit the back button, you dive out to the whatever app you were doing before. But yes, it might partially break the way the linear navigation works.
Maybe. Engineers are supposed to solve these problems, so I don't have to. But sure.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, your app can override the back button behavior, right?
Sort of. To pass, you can override the app button back behavior, the back button app behavior, but you're not allowed to override it on the exit navigation. So you can't override it and prevent someone from getting out because you'll fail certification then.
Okay.
It's actually because it's something I've been playing with this week, but it is possible. Deshnae says, "I love your podcast, but please record it louder." Renee, when you listen to it, even with headphones in crowded areas, it's nearly impossible, even though I crank my audio up to 30 out of 30. And Greasy Taco Aficionado, one of our favorite names, says, "Hello, I've been thinking the word agile would be a good name for what was formerly called Metro. Seeing someone use their left thumb to flick through all their open apps on a Windows 8 tablet makes the experience look, well, agile." But as pointed out on the podcast,
Agile is a company.
Is Agile a company?
Well, they're a company.
One of the things you have to consider when you think of all these candidates is that you have to think of the opposite. So if we name it agile, that it kind of implies that everything else is not agile, and that's not the message they want to send across. Same thing with modern. Everything else is not modern. It doesn't work. So
true. Yeah, they need to move away from that quite quickly.
Yeah.
I think we all agree. And that's everything from comments from last week. We had some good comments last week. Thank you very much for those of everyone who we just read out. So chat room. We have a couple. The first one from Top Trainer 3 says, "How many devices do we expect from each OEM for Windows Phone 8 launch?" Good question, actually.
That sounds like a good contest.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Renee. Raphael, you want to volunteer to write that? It is actually not a bad idea for a contest, and it is a good question. Pretty difficult. Oh, well, I mean, we could say Samsung is rumored to have 2, at least so far. I believe HTC is 3 phones, and then Nokia, we've also heard 3 as well. So I think that's a safe bet. Huawei and ZTE. Cares? I mean, no, that's kind of
you're not looking for the next generation Jill Sander device.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, LG. Yeah, I'm kind of glad LG is sitting this one out. Huawei. Huawei's in trouble right now. I don't know if you guys heard this other sub story. They have a phone on T-Mobile with a 5-megapixel camera. It's an Android phone. First of all, I didn't know Huawei was actually going to sell a phone here in the U.S. I'm surprised it got through. Anyways, it's not actually a 5 megapixel camera. It's like a 3.96 because it shoots 16 by 9. So it's like completely false advertising. But I'm not sure I'm excited about Huawei releasing any Windows phones. And I don't think our audience is going to be excited about them either. Same thing with ZTE. That's not to put them completely under bus. They play a role. I just don't think a lot of people are in our audience who tend to be enthusiast users are really that thrilled with what they offer. Having said that, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're going to have that many phones to come out. I think we'll just have a few big ones, So
I think we can expect to see 2, maybe 3 from Nokia. I would say 2 from HTC and 2 from Samsung. That's my bet.
But that's it, and that's the initial launch too, right? Because Nokia is going to release a couple phones over a couple months, and this is always their plan. Like every 3 to 4 months, you're going to have like a new phone coming out, and so that's still going to be kind of true. So it's sort of a weird question. What do you mean? Is the actual release? Because some of these might be just U.S. only phones, but then Europe's going to get a variant. So it's kind of a difficult question to answer. But there you go.
Yeah. Raphael, do you have anything to add to that, or do you agree?
Oh, I agree. I'm. This is going to sound silly, but I'm looking forward to the new colors.
Yeah, that's not silly. I agree with you.
I don't know. What do you want?
I kind of want the banana phone now.
I was going to ask.
Ring.
I was actually thinking this morning about running a poll about, and maybe I'll get that up today, about what color would you really want for, presumably a Lumia phone. I would actually open it up for HTC or Samsung too, but I doubt we're going to see a bright green HTC phone anytime soon. I would like to see HTC do that. I just don't see them doing it.
Oh, I hope they do, because then you'll have the banana phone and the unripe banana phone.
The plantain.
The plantain of phones. Then we can have a red one for Verizon.
Anyways,
and that'll
getting that poll up in the next hour. And
Daniel, stop taking the conversation away from banana phones.
This is the HTC broccoli.
Yes.
We could have a tomato for Verizon.
Okay. Someone asked, are we going to be at Build? Yes, Raphael and myself would be both at Build. So
yeah, I will be living in Washington. So
that's true. Oh, can I stay at your place? Thanks.
Nope.
Oh, that's right. Actually, I like staying at hotels. It's kind of cool.
There's a hotel right across the street from my apartment.
Oh, okay.
See, good. That just sounds wrong. It sounds like you've got binoculars out.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a hotel across the street from my apartment. I can see people. Sorry if I just outed your Sunday afternoons.
Yeah. Someone asked, Jonas, do you guys know anything about podcast settings, over-the-air download, and streaming being removed outside the U.S. with the Tango update? No, I do not. It's the first I've heard about it. The podcast and streaming thing outside the U.S. has always been a murky issue, especially because I'm not outside the U.S., so it's hard for me to judge.
It was never supposed to be there, really.
That's why I thought that it wasn't really there anyway. So I didn't know Tango removed it. Jay, you don't?
It was never supposed to be there. You're never supposed to be able to do it. And there was kind of occasionally on some podcast feeds, it would sort of spot up. I never really investigated it because I don't use the functionality myself. I can confirm it's definitely not there now. You can only look at what you've got as your as an overview and the episodes you've got listed or saved to your phone. So it's not really removed. It's just that supposedly the Zune functionality is not there because it's all done through the Zune subscription service. And because we don't have technically the Zune subscription service outside the US, then we can't have the over-the-air streaming. It's a whole bag of hate that I don't really want to go into it because I don't know enough. But I can confirm it's not there.
Okay. David Hamilton. Oh, no, that wasn't David. Sorry. Jim Gallagher asked, your opinion, will AT&T ever release Tango for the original Focus? No. Don't hold your breath. It probably would have happened already. Having said that,
my poor Focus.
Tango, having said that, if you want Tango, we wrote an awesome tutorial about how to do it. It'll literally take you 15 minutes. There's basically no risk to it. I mean, it's literally just reading a couple instructions. Your phone was end of life like 6 months ago. I mean, there was just like no support for it. I don't think you have much to lose. Just go install the app.
Don't say that.
I know. This is my personal opinion. It's not professional. But go to our tutorial, sign off on that we won't damage your phone, and just install the update manually. That's all I can say. Having said that, I don't think, unless you're having the keyboard issue, which was fixed in 8107, if you're going to have 8107, you'll definitely want to go through that. Because Tango itself doesn't really do that much. You're going to be like, wait, what is this? You know.
I know you can send multiple pictures.
And if that's important to you, that's huge, right? I just don't know anyone that does that. So, but if that's something you really need it for, then by all means. I would consider the 8107 update much more important because of the keyboard bug fix if you had that, you know. So
you won't get tethering though, right?
Oh, no. Well, no, I don't think so, tethering might come. It's down to the firmware.
Yeah, it's the firmware.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
There's a way to hack it onto the original Focus. I've done it before. I've had a post on it, so you can hack it on. It's not too bad actually, because you could do, I think, like rooting on the Focus. So that's why.
One question I do want to pick up was from a while ago from Danny Sufi, which is actually a really good question. Are they going to merge Windows Phone 8 apps and Windows 8 apps together? So like if we purchase an app on Windows Phone, will we get the same app on Windows 8 in the same way things work on the iPhone and the iPad? It's a really good question. The answer, I have a very strong feeling, is actually going to be no. Although they need to figure something out because people are going to be very ticked off with that because Google and Palm and RIM and Apple have set the standard here that when you buy an app on one device, you get the tablet equivalent unless it's a separate app. So unless you can run Windows Phone 8 apps on Windows 8 scaled up, then it's not going to be a case of you buy it in one place and you get it in both. There'll be two separate apps. Now, obviously, some developers choose to actually develop two separate apps anyway. So you get one which is app for tablet and one is app for phone. And some would argue as long as the experience is completely different, that's fine. But if you're paying for a port, people are going to be upset about that.
That's a little bit muddied, though, only because on the iPad, there are the HD versions of apps that are made for the iPad with the Retina displays and all that, and they do charge more. They also charge a lot, and there aren't trials. Having said that, one way around this, and I agree, we won't see you buy one that works everywhere. That won't happen. Not till Windows 9, Windows Phone 9, whatever that is, will you see that sort of unity. It's moving towards that. It's not going to be now. One way around this that they can easily fix is by offering simply a coupon system where a developer then can offer a simple code where you just enter it in and then it'll discount the price to free. I don't know, Raphael, do you remember if coupons and discount codes are supported in Windows Phone 8? I thought I heard them mention that.
I was just thinking about the App Store, and I don't even think does it support. I don't think so.
Yeah,
that might be the issue.
Either. Yeah, Android doesn't support it. I don't think either. The discount codes, or is it?
Yeah, the only way you could really do it is if you hooked into the whole purchase situation. So you know how obviously we have the new add-ons, purchasable add-ons in Windows Phone 8. There might be a way of doing it there whereby you can buy like an unlock code for a reduced price if you have the app, but the developer would have to do it themselves. There's no way of doing that through Microsoft.
Yeah, as Renee points out, iOS has both universal and separate apps, but the universal apps are chunky, which is true because with the iPad Retina display, those apps, the graphic packages got huge, and you don't want to necessarily install that on your phone because it would take up a tremendous amount of space. So it's a mixed bag. I think a coupon code system would be the way around this, but we'll have to see how those stores, if they will offer that. I really hope they do. I think we strongly need a coupon code system built in, both for discounts, offers, give developers more flexibility and instead of having to reduce the costs. And you can also do these tie-ins where you can offer then that code to someone who bought your desktop version or whatever. So we'll have to see with that, but that's sort of my answer. So,
and it's also important to note that these apps aren't binary compatible. So the phone apps are using APIs that are not present on
absolutely right
Windows devices. So there's no way they're ever going to run.
No, unless you could. No, unless Windows 8 had some kind of emulator.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. So I don't even expect it. Yeah. So someone also asked about 7.8. Once again, 7.8 we don't know much about. All I can tell you, it's coming out after Windows Phone 8, so don't expect it till November or December at the earliest. As far as which devices that will actually get it, it's still hard to say. I know there's this belief that Microsoft will just give it to all phones regardless, and you can bypass the carrier. That may or may not happen. Don't forget, this has always been a touchy subject. You will be able to get it one way or the other, either officially or unofficially, but we'll have to just wait and see when that comes along. But don't expect any more 7.8 news until, I think, after Windows Phone 8. I really firmly believe 7.8 was a complete afterthought for them, and they're working hard on it now. So it's hard to be definitive on anything about that whole update. But like I said, don't expect it till the end of the year. So if you're thinking you don't have Tango now, maybe they're waiting for 7.8, you're waiting for months before you're going to get that. My bet would just be to manually do an update.
Yeah, and I think you wrote a post, that memo from AT&T saying they weren't going to push that until after Windows Phone 8.
Right. Yeah.
Is that true?
Oh, it's definitely. Oh, yeah. No, it's definitely. I've confirmed this with even Nokia, who said no, it's not coming to after Windows Phone 8. So.
Okay. So it's like you might as well forget it.
Yeah, I mean, Belfiore said this too during the summit. I mean, it's out there. It's in the post Belfiore row that it's coming after. So it's not coming out for a while. That's why you haven't seen much about it, because I think they're literally coding it right now. So that's the sad news. But I think that's it. I think we should wrap it up. Who wants to do the outro?
Just before we go into, just very, very quickly before we go into it, somebody just posted a link from another website regarding that issue about Windows Phone 8 Metro apps being compatible with Windows 8. The answer is yes, that is pretty much fake. The source tile the source that that one gets it from is talking about shareable code and using a cloud backend so that you can have a lot of shareable code between Windows 8 and Windows Phone 8, because they use a lot of similar cores, but you would have to have separate apps and rewrite them. The way that that site in question, I won't mention it, interpreted the information was completely wrong. So that was in response to Marius Dimitriou's, if I said that right, question.
Okay. So who's doing the outro? Jay?
Yeah, go on then. So we got it. Although I've just realised you've got an old version of the script thing, so I'm going to have to remember someone's Twitter thing. Anyway, you can find us all on Twitter at wpcentral. You can find Dan at Daniel_Rubino or George at Coppertop004. You can find Rich, our British writer, at Rich Edmonds. You can find myself at JAYT Bennett. You can find Paul, our games writer, reviewer, at SegaCon. You can find Raphael when he is not being peeled off of a road at Within Raphael. Matt is at Roadcode, and Dave, our forums guru, man, moderator at big_D5. And then, of course, there's Rob at GroovePoint as well. This has been a Mobile Nations podcast. Please go to www.mobilenations.com for more great shows covering everything mobile, or head over to the WP Central forums if you'd like to get involved with our community in discussing more about Windows Phone, news, devices, and apps. And now is actually a really good time to get involved with the forums, because as we've been circulating for a while, the compatibility with the app is coming. Thanks to the Windows Phone Central store for sponsoring this podcast, and also thanks to the great artists at ccmixter.org for offering a great database of Creative Commons music. And you can find out more about the music on this podcast at the bottom of this post.
There you go. Thanks for everybody for joining us this week. We'll be back in 2 weeks again. And that's it. Take care, everybody.
All right. See you later.